You feel it long before the rest of the world notices. The tension in the supply chain, the tightening in the markets, the silence that comes before every collapse. People pretend nothing is happening, but you're already watching the shelves, the news, the patterns. You know how fast stability turns into scarcity and how instantly scarcity turns into panic. And in that panic, people make the same fatal mistake every single time. They buy everything except what actually matters. Stockpiling has become a ritual for the unprepared. They chase comfort, not capability. They fill closets the way a drowning man fills his lungs, grabbing anything that looks like security, anything that feels like preparedness, anything that tells them they've done enough. But feelings don't keep you alive. Gear does. Engineering does. Discipline does. The wrong items waste space, weaken your system, and sabotage you from the inside long before the real crisis ever reaches your door. The truth is simple and brutal. Most of the items people hoard are dead weight. They drain resources. They fail under pressure. They create an illusion of safety that disappears the second the lights go out and the world shifts into survival mode. And when illusion dies, people follow. Your mission is different. You're not here to repeat their mistakes. You're here to identify the weaknesses, eliminate the liabilities, and strip your stockpile down to gear that performs when everything else breaks. Survival isn't about having more. It's about having what works. And today, you're going to learn which items don't. You've seen them everywhere. The cheap, shiny, miracle water gadgets that promise purification, filtration, and survival in a crisis. They sit on store shelves and prepper websites like trophies, luring the untrained eye with marketing terms designed to make you feel safe. But safety isn't a feeling. It's performance under pressure. And these tools fail the moment conditions turn hostile. You can't rely on a device that clogs after a single murky stream. You can't trust plastic housings that crack when temperatures drop. And you definitely can't bet your life on filters that boast 99% clean without telling you what that missing 1% contains. In a real crisis, that missing 1% can be the parasite that puts you on your knees, the bacteria that dehydrates you, or the virus that stops your ability to move, think, and defend. These gimmicks are designed for camping weekends, not collapse scenarios. They function under ideal conditions, not when the water source is muddy, stagnant, contaminated, or mixed with runoff carrying chemicals. When the grid fails, the pumps stop, and the municipal systems collapse, your water isn't coming from a picturesque mountain stream. It's coming from whatever is left. And whatever is left will punish weak gear. A true tactical filtration system is built for war zones, not vacations. It uses pressure, redundancy, and military-grade media that removes everything from sediment to viral load. It is field-tested, impact-resistant, freeze-tolerant, and built to run long after comfort dies. It doesn't rely on hope. It relies on engineering. You prepare for chaos, not convenience. You prepare for the water that stinks, tastes metallic, and carries microscopic threats waiting to cut you down from the inside. You prepare for the day when every drop you drink becomes a battlefield. Stop buying gadgets designed for marketing photos. Start securing tools built for collapse. The difference is survival. The difference is who walks away. In every blackout, every storm, every moment when the world tilts into darkness, one truth becomes absolute. If you can't see, you can't move. And if you can't move, you can't survive. That's why cheap flashlights are silent killers. They fail without warning, without mercy, and always at the exact moment you need them to perform. People stockpile them because they're inexpensive, lightweight, and everywhere. Dollar store LEDs, plastic tactical wannabes, discount headlamps with exaggerated lumen numbers that collapse under real stress. They look bright on the first day. They look like security. They look like preparedness, until they don't. When the grid goes down and cold creeps in, low-grade batteries lose power. When humidity rises, cheap circuits corrode. When you drop that flashlight while searching through debris, the flimsy internal contacts snap out of place and the light dies. You won't get a second chance to replace it. Darkness doesn't negotiate. A low-quality flashlight isn't just a weak light source. It's a tactical liability. It exposes you. It fails to penetrate darkness. It drains its batteries at unpredictable rates. It flickers when vibrations hit. In a crisis, flicker is not an inconvenience. Flicker is a warning that your world is about to disappear in one breath. Your lighting system must operate like part of your nervous system. Instant, reliable, and unbreakable. Metal housing, sealed switches, regulated output, real lumen ratings, and power cells that tolerate cold, heat, and long-term storage. A tool built to endure rain, impact, and night after night of demands, not a toy built to meet a price point. You're not preparing for a walk to the backyard. You're preparing for broken streets, collapsed structures, hostile movement, and the silence of a powerless city. Your eyes are your advantage until the light leaves you. Stop trusting cheap flashlights to save your life. Darkness will test you. Make sure your gear doesn't fail first. You've seen them stacked in every prepper's closet. Oversized first aid kits stuffed with dozens of items that look impressive but solve nothing. Bright red cases. Zippers packed tight. Labels promising 200 essential pieces. But when blood hits the floor, when breathing becomes shallow, when shock starts to take over, 90% of what's inside those kits becomes dead weight. Most people buy these bulky kits for one reason. They look complete. They look like preparation. They create the illusion of medical readiness without providing the tools that stop the things that actually kill. In a real crisis, you're not treating paper cuts, mosquito bites, or mild rashes. You're treating hemorrhage, airway obstruction, broken structures, lacerations, burns, and trauma that escalates in minutes, not hours. Open one of those giant store-bought kits, and you'll find tiny tweezers, 10 useless alcohol pads, novelty bandages with pictures on them, thin gloves that tear instantly, and tools too small, too weak, or too irrelevant to matter. What you won't find is what saves lives: pressure dressings, real tourniquets, chest seals, hemostatic agents, thermal management gear, or tools that let you control bleeding fast and stabilize a deteriorating body. Every ounce in your pack must justify the space it occupies. Junk kits fail that rule. They waste room, waste time, and worst of all, give you a false sense of capability. In collapse conditions, false capability is lethal. What you need is not a large kit. You need an intelligent one. Minimal, tactical. Focused on the three killers: massive bleeding, airway failure, circulation shutdown. Tools that work even when adrenaline shakes your hands. Gear that doesn't crumble when exposed to heat, moisture, or cold. Equipment that turns chaos into control. Stop trusting bulk. Start trusting function. In a world without ambulances, your kit becomes the medic, and useless gear has no place in that role. Walk through any warehouse store before a storm, and you'll see the same scene. Carts overflowing with canned goods, stacked high like armor against the unknown. But security isn't measured by volume. It's measured by what those calories actually do for you when the grid is down and your body becomes your only engine. And most of the canned goods people hoard fail that test instantly. The mistake is simple: buying by quantity, not by performance. People grab whatever is cheap, familiar, or on sale: vegetables with almost no calories, soups filled mostly with water, fruit cans drowning in syrup, beans without salt, low-fat everything. They fill shelves with food that technically keeps, but barely fuels survival. In collapse conditions, taste fatigue hits fast, morale drops, and your body begins burning more energy than you're taking in. That imbalance is deadly. Canned items also become psychological traps. When you rely on foods you don't actually eat in normal life, you create a stockpile that feels heavy, discouraging, and ultimately disposable. You end up with walls of cans that sit for years, then expire, then get tossed. Wasted money disguised as preparedness. Survival food is not about comfort. It's not about nostalgia. It's about density, efficiency, longevity, and the ability to keep your mind sharp while your environment degrades. You need calories that count, protein that sustains, sodium that stabilizes, fats that keep your brain operational under stress. Stop letting your shelves become museums of pointless cans. Start choosing foods that treat your body like the machine it is. A machine that must run even when everything else stops. A knife is not a tool in a crisis. It is a lifeline. It is the difference between building shelter or freezing, preparing food or starving, defending yourself or becoming a statistic. And yet most people fill their stockpiles with the weakest blades they can find. Discount store knives, hollow-handled survival blades, Rambo-style fantasies made of brittle metal and glued parts. They look aggressive. They feel exciting. But excitement is not survival. Cheap knives fail where it matters most, under pressure. The steel bends, chips, or snaps when you pry. The edge dulls after a single use. The handle shifts inside your grip when moisture hits. Coatings flake off. Hinges wobble. Rat-tail tangs break clean in half the moment you need leverage. And when a blade fails, it doesn't just stop being useful. It becomes dangerous to you. People buy them because marketing teaches them to chase aesthetics instead of capability. They want a knife that looks tactical instead of one that acts tactical. But a blade's purpose isn't to impress. Its purpose is to perform. Quietly, consistently, without hesitation. A real survival knife doesn't need theatrics. It needs structure. Full tang construction. Steel that holds an edge and resists impact. Geometry designed for cutting, carving, splitting, and scraping without fold, wobble, or fracture. Grip material that locks into your hand, whether it's wet, cold, or shaking from adrenaline. A sheath that protects the blade and deploys it instantly. In collapse conditions, you won't have time to troubleshoot a broken knife or hunt for a backup. You get one motion, one cut, one chance. Your blade must answer every demand with absolute reliability. Stop stockpiling knives built for display photos. Start choosing blades engineered for survival. Blades that stay with you through impact, stress, and the fight that follows. In every crisis, you'll see the same pattern repeat. People rushing to pack their cars and carts with mountains of toilet paper, believing they're securing comfort or dignity for the hard days ahead. But in real collapse conditions, toilet paper is one of the least efficient, least durable, and least tactical items you can dedicate space to. It is a luxury disguised as a necessity, and luxuries collapse first. Toilet paper fails at the three pillars of survival logistics: volume, vulnerability, and versatility. It consumes massive space while offering almost no functional return. A single family can burn through dozens of rolls in a month, and storing that much creates bulky towers that steal room from food, water, tools, fuel, and medical gear. When every cubic inch counts, size becomes the enemy. Then there's vulnerability. Paper absorbs moisture, mold, and contamination instantly. A single roof leak, humidity spike, or rodent breach can turn months of storage into a useless, dissolving mess. In a grid-down environment where climate control dies, your stockpile becomes fragile, unpredictable, and easily ruined. Worst of all, toilet paper offers no tactical advantage. It doesn't sanitize. It doesn't purify. It doesn't support mobility. It doesn't contribute to heat, hydration, or health. It is a psychological comfort item, nothing more. Efficient survivors use compact hygiene systems that outperform toilet paper in every category: durability, portability, longevity, and resilience under harsh conditions. You don't prepare for comfort. You prepare for continuity. Stop letting your shelves drown in paper. When society falters, you need capability, not clutter. People treat batteries like an afterthought, something cheap, easy to stockpile, and universally good enough. But in a real crisis, when every device you rely on becomes a lifeline, low-quality batteries reveal their true nature: unreliable, unstable, and dangerously inconsistent. And inconsistency is the enemy of survival. Cheap alkaline batteries suffer from silent failure modes that most people never notice until it's too late. They leak under heat. They drain themselves in storage. Their output collapses in cold weather. Their internal chemistry breaks down when humidity rises. And when you finally need them, when the lights are out, the radio is silent, and you're trying to navigate a powerless world, they give you minutes of life instead of hours. During a long blackout, power is not convenience. Power is information, mobility, coordination, and security. Your flashlight, your comms, your sensors, your tools, they don't care how many batteries you thought you had. They care about the quality of the charge behind them. And cheap batteries lie. They exaggerate capacity on the packaging. They promise long-lasting performance, but collapse under high-drain devices. They degrade years before their expiration dates. Worse, they can rupture inside your gear, destroying equipment you depended on for defense or navigation. One leak can take out a radio. One leak can take out your only reliable light source. Real preparedness requires energy storage that performs under pressure. Lithium cells, regulated rechargeables, sealed packs designed for extreme temperatures and long-term stability. Batteries that survive the dark, not just the store shelf. Stop filling drawers with disposable weakness. Power is survival. Treat it like the asset it is, not the gamble cheap batteries turn it into. Multi-tools are one of the biggest traps in the survival world. Sleek, shiny, packed with tiny fold-out parts that make you feel prepared just by holding them. But feeling prepared is not the same as being prepared, and most of these expensive doomsday multi-tools collapse the moment real pressure hits them. Their flaw is structural. Too many functions packed into too little steel. When everything folds, pivots, or hinges, nothing is strong. The pliers flex, the blades wobble, the screwdrivers strip, the saws bind. Under survival strain, cold hands, wet conditions, adrenaline-fueled movements, these miniature tools expose their true identity: convenience devices pretending to be tactical assets. People stockpile them because they like the idea of one tool for everything. But a single tool that tries to do everything ends up doing nothing well. In collapse conditions, Tasks demand strength, leverage, stability, and efficiency. Cutting wire, reinforcing shelter, opening sealed containers, sharpening stakes. None of these tasks respect fragile joints or thin moving parts. Worse, multi-tools slow you down. Every action becomes a series of steps. Open the tool, fold out the part, lock it, reposition your grip. Pray it doesn't snap. Time wasted while the environment deteriorates around you. Real survivors build systems, not gimmicks. A fixed blade knife, a real screwdriver, a dedicated pair of pliers, purpose-built tools that perform instantly and survive abuse without complaint. Gear that doesn't fold because your situation won't either. Stop letting clever engineering distract you from real capability. When the world breaks, you need tools that don't break with it. Books fill shelves. Skills save lives. And yet countless preppers build libraries they never open. Collections of survival guides, field manuals, bushcraft books, and first aid primers that sit untouched until the day everything goes dark. But information you haven't internalized is not preparation. It's decoration. In a crisis, your brain becomes your primary weapon system. It must deploy knowledge instantly, under stress, without hesitation. You won't have the luxury to flip pages during a blackout, search for diagrams while someone is bleeding, or scan chapters while the environment shifts around you. The world won't pause while you look it up. Books don't adapt to danger. You do, or you don't. Unstudied survival books create a deadly illusion. The illusion that owning knowledge is the same as understanding it. But there is a gulf between reading about a skill and executing it under fear, fatigue, cold, or adrenaline. Fire starting looks simple until your hands shake. Navigation looks effortless until the sky disappears. First aid looks straightforward until blood hits the floor. Real readiness requires muscle memory, not bookshelf memory. It demands repetition, practice, failure, correction, and confidence built through doing, not imagining. The book is the blueprint. The body is the engine. If you never train the engine, the blueprint stays useless. Keep the manuals, but stop pretending they're preparation on their own. Study them. Drill them. Convert every chapter into a practiced action you can perform in the dark, under pressure, with no second chance. Stop stockpiling unread pages. Knowledge only matters when it becomes instinct. Hand-crank gadgets sell the fantasy of infinite power. A comforting illusion for people who fear the dark, but don't understand the physics of survival. Flashlights you crank by hand. Radios you wind like toys. Chargers that promise emergency energy anytime. They appear on every prepper website because they're easy to market and even easier to misunderstand. But in real collapse conditions, these devices become nothing more than exhausting disappointments. The problem is simple. Human output is weak. The average person can only generate a tiny amount of usable energy through mechanical motion. That means every minute you spend cranking produces only seconds of power. Seconds that vanish the moment your hand stops moving. In a crisis, when stress already drains your energy reserves, spending precious calories on a gadget that gives almost nothing back is tactical self-sabotage. Then there's durability. Hand crank mechanisms are notoriously fragile. Plastic gears strip, internal coils snap. Handles break off under cold, pressure, or repeated use. A device you bought for long-term security becomes a short-term novelty that fails just when communication or light is mission-critical. These gadgets also mislead your planning. They make you believe you have a backup system, when in reality, you have a toy masquerading as equipment. False confidence kills. It pushes you into situations you aren't prepared for, assuming your gear will save you, and then watching it die in your hands. Real survival demands energy systems built to endure. Solar panels with actual wattage, power banks with proven discharge stability, rechargeable lithium cells, and systems designed to run through nights, storms, and weeks of grid failure. Tools that store power efficiently instead of begging you to generate it manually. Stop investing in illusions. The world won't reward your effort, only your effectiveness. Fuel is life in a long-term crisis. It powers mobility, heat, cooking, tools, generators, every system that keeps you moving while the world grinds to a halt. But most people stockpile fuel the wrong way. In cheap containers, in unstable environments, and with zero understanding of how volatile, fragile, and dangerous poor fuel storage really is. Bad containers don't just waste fuel, they create explosions waiting for a spark. The mistake begins with improvised storage, thin plastic jugs, discount gas cans, repurposed bottles that were never engineered for pressure, vapor expansion, or chemical resistance. Under heat, these containers warp, swell, leak, or split. Under cold, they become brittle. Under sun exposure, they degrade. And when fumes escape into a confined space, a garage, a basement, a shed, a single static charge can turn your stockpile into a fireball. Then comes contamination. Dust, moisture, rust, and microscopic debris infiltrate unstable containers, breaking down fuel quality until engines cough, stall, and die. And a dead engine during collapse isn't an inconvenience. It's immobilization. It's losing your generator on a freezing night. It's losing your vehicle when you need to evacuate. It's losing your ability to cook, heat, or signal. Bad fuel cuts your capability at the root. People hoard fuel because they know it's valuable. But value means nothing without preservation. And preservation demands proper materials. Thick-walled, certified containers built for expansion and pressure. Metal where metal is required. Polymer where polymer excels. Seals that lock vapors in. Stabilizers that keep fuel viable for months or years. Storage that isolates heat, reduces oxygen exposure, and minimizes ignition points. Fuel is not a luxury item, it's a strategic asset. And strategic assets must be protected, maintained, and stored with the same discipline you apply to water, medical gear, and food. Stop treating fuel like something you can improvise. Treat it like the power system your survival depends on, because it is. When crisis hits, the world doesn't give you warnings, explanations, or second chances. It strips everything down to what works and what fails, and the difference between those two categories decides who endures the collapse and who becomes another silent story in the debris. That's why removing useless gear isn't minimalism. It's survival discipline. It's the refusal to carry weight that slows you, distracts you, or betrays you when pressure peaks. Most people go into emergencies armed with optimism instead of capability. They trust gadgets that look tactical instead of tools that are tactical. They trust volume over function, comfort over resilience, appearance over engineering. And when the environment turns hostile, that gap in judgment becomes a threat greater than hunger, cold, or darkness. You now know the 11 stockpile items that sabotage readiness, the gear that creates confidence without competence, the items that waste space, drain energy, and deliver nothing when chaos demands everything. Clearing them out isn't about organizing your shelves. It's about narrowing your focus to what matters: durability, efficiency, and operational performance under stress. Preparation is not accumulation. Preparation is selection. Precision, ruthlessness. You keep only what earns its place and discard everything that doesn't. That mindset is what separates survivors from casualties. This is the moment you recalibrate. Audit your gear. Strip your loadout down to essentials that function when the world fails. Upgrade what is weak. Remove what is worthless. Build a system built to endure. You don't prepare to survive the collapse. You prepare to dominate it.